The lecture hall floated in the darkness of space, its massive windows showing the stars beyond. Inside, 200 students from across the galaxy sat in their specially designed seats. Some seats held water for aquatic species, others pumped methane gas. A few contained pure energy fields for beings made of living light. At the front of the room, 3 alien students stood before a massive display screen. Velthar's crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. Next to him, Crix's insect-like form clicked and buzzed with nervous energy. Nala floated above them both, a cloud of purple gas that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "Thank you, Professor," Velthar said, his voice humming through his crystal structure. "We are ready to present our research on human behavioral patterns." Professor Krelix nodded from his desk. He was a tall, thin being wrapped in dark robes that hid most of his features. "Proceed." The screen behind the 3 students lit up with images of humans. Velthar gestured with one of his geometric limbs. "Our thesis is simple. Humans are the most pain-averse species in the known galaxy." A murmur ran through the lecture hall. Several students leaned forward with interest. In the back row, Hyunwoo sat quietly, his human face showing a small smile. He said nothing. Crick stepped forward, his compound eyes gleaming. "The evidence is overwhelming. Consider their medical technology." Images appeared on the screen showing human hospitals, surgical equipment, and bottles of pills. Humans have invented thousands of substances designed to eliminate pain. They call them painkillers and anesthetics. No other species has dedicated so many resources to avoiding physical discomfort. Nala's gaseous form pulsed with patterns of light that translated into words. "Look at their safety protocols." New images showed human warning labels, safety equipment, and protective gear. Humans put warnings on everything. Hot coffee cups say "caution hot." Plastic bags warn about suffocation. Even their food packaging lists potential allergic reactions in great detail. Velthar brought up more data. Their language reveals their attitude toward pain. They say no pain, no gain, but notice how they say it. This is not a celebration of pain. It is humans trying to convince themselves to tolerate minor discomfort. They must remind themselves that temporary pain can lead to good results. The students in the hall took notes. Some nodded in agreement. It all seemed logical. Crix continued, "Consider human childhood. Human parents protect their young from every possible source of pain. Soft corners on furniture, gentle soaps that do not sting the eyes, constant supervision to prevent injuries. They even have a profession called pediatrics, dedicated entirely to keeping human children comfortable and pain-free. Their sports reveal the same pattern," Nala added. Images of human athletes appeared. Humans wear extensive padding and protective equipment. They stop competitions if someone gets hurt. They have entire medical teams standing by at every event. This is not a species that embraces physical hardship. Velthar pulled up charts and graphs. "We studied human history. Every major advance in human civilization corresponds with a reduction in daily pain. They invented agriculture to avoid the pain of hunger. They built houses to avoid the pain of weather exposure. They created laws to avoid the pain of violence. Their entire social structure is designed to minimize suffering." More images flashed across the screen. Human doctors, human engineers, human scientists, all working to make life easier, safer, more comfortable. "Look at their modern society," Crix said. "Humans have automated nearly every painful or difficult task. Machines lift heavy objects. Vehicles eliminate the pain of long-distance walking. Climate control keeps their environments perfectly comfortable. They have even invented chairs that massage their backs while they sit." Nala's light patterns became more animated. "We interviewed 12 humans over the past month. Every single one mentioned avoiding pain as a primary life goal. They take medicine at the first sign of a headache. They use numbing cream before medical procedures. One human told us she rearranged her entire schedule to avoid stubbing her toe on a piece of furniture in the dark." The lecture hall remained quiet, absorbed in the presentation. Hyunwoo in the back row covered his mouth with his hand. His shoulders shook slightly, but no one noticed. Velthar moved to the conclusion slide. "Our findings are clear. Humans have evolved, or perhaps deliberately designed their civilization, to avoid physical pain at all costs. They are more sensitive to discomfort than species with far more fragile biology. A Krylonian can regrow limbs without complaint. A thresher molts its entire skin weekly. But humans, they complain about paper cuts. Furthermore, Crix added, humans seem almost afraid of pain. They teach their children that pain is bad and should be avoided. They seek medical attention for minor injuries. They have an entire industry dedicated to comfort food and stress relief. This is not a species built for hardship. Nala floated lower, her final words appearing in light. In conclusion, if you need to work with humans, remember their sensitivity. Avoid any activity that might cause them discomfort. Be prepared for them to stop working if they experience even minor pain. Their contributions to galactic society are valuable, but their physical limitations must be respected. The three students bowed to the class. Professor Krellick stood and walked to the front. His hidden face seemed to study the presentation for a long moment. Fascinating research, he said finally. Your methodology was sound. Your data collection was thorough. Your analysis was logical. He paused. Grade, excellent. The three students relaxed visibly. Other students in the class began to applaud, their various appendages creating a strange symphony of sounds. Professor Krellick raised one robed hand for silence. However, I encourage you to continue your research. Direct observation is valuable. You have studied humans from a distance. Perhaps spending time with them directly would add depth to your understanding. Velthar's crystal body chimed with happiness. Thank you, Professor. We will certainly consider that for future projects. As the class ended, students filed out through various exits suited to their biology. Hyunwoo stood and stretched. He gathered his datapad and walked toward the door, passing the three researchers. Good presentation, he said to them with a friendly smile. Thank you, Hyunwoo, Velthar replied. We hope we represented your species accurately. Oh, you did great, Hyunwoo said, his smile growing wider. Really thorough research, very interesting conclusions. Crix tilted his head, antennae twitching. You seem amused, do I? Hyunwoo adjusted his backpack. Just thinking about my plans this weekend. Plans? Nala's lights pulsed with curiosity. Yeah, Hyunwoo said. I'm getting a tattoo on Saturday. You guys want to come watch? Might be educational. The three aliens looked at each other in confusion. They did not know what a tattoo was, but they were researchers. Educational opportunities were always welcome. We would be honored to observe human cultural practices, Velthar said formally. Perfect, Hyunwoo said. Meet me at Recreation Deck 7, 2 in the afternoon. There's a place called Ink and Integration. You'll learn a lot about humans. He walked away, leaving the three aliens puzzled but intrigued. They had just completed their research on humans. How much more could there possibly be to learn? In the front of the empty lecture hall, Professor Krellick gathered his things slowly. Under his robes hidden from view, he smiled. He had been teaching xenopsychology for 15 years. He had seen this exact presentation with minor variations at least 20 times. The students always learned eventually. He looked forward to their revised thesis. Recreation Deck 7 was busy on Saturday afternoon. The shopping district stretched along the outer ring of the station, where large windows showed the planet below. Shops of all kinds lined the curved corridor. A restaurant that served liquid nitrogen meals for cold climate species, a bookstore that sold data crystals in 10,000 languages, a meditation chamber filled with zero-gravity foam. And at the end of the corridor, tucked between a clothing store and a coffee shop, sat Ink and Integration. Velthar, Crix, and Nala arrived early. They stood outside the shop studying the window display. Images covered every centimeter of glass. Pictures of human skin decorated with elaborate designs. Dragons and flowers, geometric patterns and realistic portraits. Words in dozens of human languages. What is the purpose of this establishment? Velthar's crystal form chimed with confusion. Unknown, Crix buzzed. His compound eyes tried to make sense of the images. These appear to be modifications to human skin. But humans avoid pain. Why would they voluntarily damage their largest organ? Nala pulsed with uncertainty. Perhaps we misunderstood Hyunwoo's invitation. The door opened. A human woman stepped out, and the three aliens instinctively moved back. She was covered in art. Both arms showed elaborate designs from shoulder to wrist. A flower pattern climbed up her neck. When she smiled at them, they could see a small metal stud in her tongue. You must be Hyunwoo's friends, she said. Her voice was warm and friendly. I'm Jihi, come on in. He's not here yet, but you can look around while we wait. She held the door open. The three aliens exchanged glances, then entered. The shop interior was small and very clean. The walls were covered with more images, thousands of designs organized by category. One wall showed animals, another showed symbols and text. A third showed abstract art that seemed to move when viewed from different angles. Jihai moved behind a counter. First time seeing a tattoo shop? Yes, Velthar said. We are researchers. We study human behavior. Cool, Jihai said. She did not seem surprised. The station hosted students from everywhere. Well, you picked a good day to learn. Hyunwoo's getting a memorial piece. Those are always meaningful. Memorial? Nala's lights formed a question pattern. For his grandmother, she passed away last month. Jihai pulled out a drawing tablet and showed them a design. A phoenix bird with wings spread wide, surrounded by flowers. He wanted something to remember her by. Something permanent. Crix moved closer to examine the design. This will be applied to his skin? Yep, on his ribs, right here. Jihai touched her own side. It'll take about 3 hours. 3 hours? Velthar's voice went high. Of what process exactly? Jihai picked up a tool from her workspace. It looked like a pen but made a buzzing sound when she activated it. This is a tattoo machine. It has tiny needles that move up and down really fast. They push ink under the skin. Each little dot of ink stays there forever, and when you put millions of dots together, you get a picture. She demonstrated on a piece of synthetic skin. The buzzing sound filled the shop. The 3 aliens watched in horror as the needles punctured the material over and over. That is a weapon, Crix stated flatly. You were stabbing him. Thousands of times. Millions, actually, Jihai said cheerfully, for a piece this size. But yeah, basically. The door opened again. Hyunwoo walked in carrying a coffee cup.
Hey, everyone.
Glad you could make it. He looked completely relaxed. Happy even. Hyunwoo! Velthar's crystal body vibrated with distress. We must speak with you privately. This human, he gestured at Jihai, plans to attack you with a needle weapon. Hyunwoo laughed. I know, that's why I'm here. You know? Nala's purple gas swirled with confusion. You are aware this will cause pain? Sure, Hyunwoo said. He set down his coffee and pulled off his shirt. It's not that bad, really. I've got 3 other tattoos already. See? He turned, showing his back. A small symbol marked his shoulder blade. A line of text ran along his left shoulder. Another design decorated his ankle. The 3 aliens stared. Their entire research project was falling apart in real time. Ready when you are, Jihai said. She had set up her station. The chair looked like a medical bed. Bottles of ink sat in neat rows. The tattoo machine gleamed under the bright lights. Hyunwoo lay down on the chair, positioning himself on his side. Jihai transferred the design onto his skin with a special paper, leaving a purple outline of the phoenix. This will take about 3 hours, she told him. Let me know if you need a break. I'll be fine, Hyunwoo said. He pulled out his data pad and set it where he could see it. Jihai put on gloves. She dipped the needles in black ink. The machine buzzed to life. Then she pressed it against Hyunwoo's ribs and began to work. The 3 aliens watched in absolute silence. The needles went in and out of Hyunwoo's skin. Tiny droplets of blood appeared and were wiped away. The buzzing sound continued without stopping. And Hyunwoo just lay there, scrolling through his datapad. How is the pain? Velthar whispered after 10 minutes. Hyunwoo looked up. Oh, it's fine. Ribs are a bit sensitive, but nothing terrible. Feels like a bad sunburn crossed with tiny scratches. He went back to his datapad. Jihai worked with smooth, practiced movements. Her hand moved the machine in careful lines, building the outline of the phoenix. Tell me if you need me to go lighter, she said. Nope, you're good, Hyunwoo replied. He was reading something that made him chuckle. Did you see the message from Professor Krelix? He assigned another research project already. Brutal, Jihai said. Education never stops. They chatted like old friends. About classes, about food, about a new movie playing in the station theater. The conversation was boring and normal and completely casual. Crix could not understand it. His species felt pain through their exoskeleton. Even a small crack would send them into hibernation to heal. But here was Hyunwoo, being systematically stabbed thousands of times talking about movies. An hour passed. Jihai finished the outline and started the shading. The needles moved faster now, covering larger areas. More blood appeared. More wiping. The buzzing continued. Hyunwoo yawned. Boring you? Jihai asked with a smile. Little bit, Hyunwoo admitted. Mind if I nap? Go ahead. I'll wake you if I need you to shift. And he did. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and fell asleep while thousands of needles punctured his skin. His breathing became slow and steady, peaceful. Nala floated closer to Veltar. Her light patterns were frantic. Our research. Everything we concluded. It was wrong. We must have made an error, Veltar insisted. Perhaps humans have a different nervous system than we understood. Perhaps they do not feel pain the same way. Jihai overheard them. Oh, he feels it, she said, not looking up from her work. Humans have lots of pain receptors. We feel everything. He's just choosing to deal with it because the tattoo matters more to him than the temporary discomfort. Choosing, Crix repeated. The word seemed foreign to him. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Jihai finally turned off her machine. All done. Want to see? Hyunwoo woke up and stretched carefully. Jihai held up a mirror. The phoenix spread across his ribs in perfect detail. Black and gray shading made it look three-dimensional. The flowers around it seemed to glow. It's perfect, Hyunwoo said quietly. Thank you. Your grandma would love it, Jihai said. She covered the tattoo with a clear bandage. Keep it clean. Use the cream I gave you. No swimming for 2 weeks. Hyunwoo put his shirt back on carefully. He paid Jihai, tipping her extra. Then he turned to his alien friend. So, he said, educational. Velthar's crystal structure was dim, like a light had gone out inside him. We do not understand humans at all. That's okay, Hyunwoo said kindly. Most humans don't understand humans either. Want to grab dinner? There's a great noodle place on deck 3. No, Crix said firmly. We need to go to the library immediately. Nala pulsed in agreement. Our entire thesis. Everything we presented. It was completely incorrect. Hyunwoo's smile grew wider. I tried to tell you at the presentation. You did great research. You just got the conclusion backwards. Backwards? Veltar looked at him. How? You saw all that pain-avoiding technology and thought we were trying to avoid pain. Hyunwoo explained. But think about it differently. We invented all that stuff so that when we do choose to experience pain, it's because we want to, not because we have no choice. He gestured to his new tattoo. I could have refused. I could have said, no, this hurts too much. But I didn't. Because my grandmother deserved to be remembered, and a few hours of discomfort is nothing compared to that. The 3 aliens stood very still, processing this information. If you excuse us, Veltar said slowly, we have a great deal of research to do. They left the shop quickly, heading for the library. Behind them, Hyunwoo and Jihee exchanged amused looks. Think they learned something? Jihai asked. Oh yeah, Hyunwoo said. This is going to be fun. The university library never closed. It could not close because students from different worlds lived on different schedules. Some species were nocturnal. Others were active for 3 days straight before sleeping for a week. The library accommodated everyone, staying open all the time with automated systems and AI assistants. At 3 in the morning, station time, Veltar, Crix, and Nala claimed a study room in the back corner. They had been there for 9 hours straight. The walls of the study room were covered with projected data. Videos played on every surface. Text scrolled past faster than most beings could read. The 3 aliens were in crisis mode. This cannot all be accurate, Veltar said. His crystal structure flickered with stress. This video shows humans running for hours without stopping. 26.2 miles. They call it a marathon. Some of them do this for fun. I have found worse, Crix buzzed. His antennae drooped with exhaustion. Look at this. A human sport called rugby. They throw a ball and tackle each other. No protective equipment. They just crash into each other at full speed. A video played showing exactly that. Humans slamming into each other. Bodies hitting the ground. Players getting up and doing it again. The commentator's voice described it as a beautiful play. Nala's gaseous form had turned a sick shade of green. I have been researching human artistic expression. I found something called ballet. Watch this. A new video appeared. A human woman danced on stage, spinning and leaping. Her movements were graceful and beautiful. Then the video zoomed in on her feet. They were covered in scars, bruises, damaged toenails. The shoes she wore were stained with blood. She is dancing on broken toes, Nala said quietly. The article explains that professional ballet dancers frequently break their toes and continue performing. They consider it normal. Veltar pulled up another file. I found their medical history. Before modern anesthesia, humans performed surgery while patients were awake. They would hold the patient down and cut them open. The patient would scream. And they did it anyway because the alternative was death. Here is dentistry, Crix added, opening another video. Pulling teeth. Drilling into teeth. Before pain medicine, they just did it. There are historical accounts of humans biting down on leather straps while having teeth removed without any numbing agents. The room fell silent except for the humming of the computers. The three researchers stared at the overwhelming data surrounding them. The door opened. A human student entered carrying a cup of coffee. He stopped when he saw them. Oh, sorry. Didn't know anyone was in here. He started to back out. Wait, Belthar said urgently. Please, we have questions about human behavior. The student looked uncertain but stepped inside. Okay, I'm Daejung. Physics major. What do you need to know? Is this accurate? Crix pointed to the marathon video. Do humans really run until their bodies break down? Daejung glanced at the screen. Oh yeah, marathons are common. Some people do ultramarathons. Those are even longer. 50 miles, 100 miles. There's one race through a desert that's called the hardest foot race on Earth. But why? Nala's lights pulsed with genuine confusion. Why would anyone do that? Daejung shrugged. To see if they can, I guess. To test themselves. Sometimes to raise money for charity. Everyone has their own reasons. He sipped his coffee. My aunt ran a marathon last year. Said it was the hardest thing she ever did. She's planning to do another one next month. She wants to repeat the painful experience. Felthar could not comprehend it. Sure, Daejung said. She says the sense of accomplishment is worth it. Plus her knees feel better now that she's stronger. He noticed the other videos playing on the walls. Wow, you guys are really diving deep into human stuff. Rugby, ballet, dental work. Pretty random collection. We are trying to understand human pain tolerance, Crix explained. Our original research suggested humans avoid pain at all costs. But evidence suggests the opposite. Oh, that's cool. Daejung pulled up a chair. Yeah, humans have a complicated relationship with pain. We definitely don't like it, but we don't let it stop us from doing what we want to do. He thought for a moment. Let me show you something. Daejung borrowed the controls and pulled up a new search. Here, childbirth. A medical video began playing. The three aliens watched in growing horror as the process of human reproduction was explained. The size of a human infant. The size of the opening it had to pass through. The hours of labor. The tearing of tissue. This kills humans? Felthar asked weakly. Sometimes, yeah, Daejung admitted. Less often now with modern medicine. But even with all our technology, it's still incredibly painful. There's medication that helps, but it doesn't eliminate all the pain. And some women choose to do it without any pain medication at all. Choose? Nala had turned almost white. They volunteer to experience the worst pain possible? They want to be fully present for the birth, Daejung said. And honestly, even with medication, it's still painful. But women do it anyway. Sometimes multiple times. My mom had 4 kids, 4. I asked her once why she did it, knowing how much it hurt. She just smiled and said we were worth it. He pulled up more data. Want to see something really wild? Look up extreme sports. The next hour was a nightmare for the 3 researchers. Daejung cheerfully showed them videos of humans doing impossible things. Rock climbing without ropes. Just hands and feet on a sheer cliff face thousands of feet above the ground. Base jumping. Leaping off buildings and mountains with a parachute that might not open. Cave diving. Swimming through underwater passages so narrow humans had to remove their air tanks to fit through. Free diving. Holding their breath and swimming deeper and deeper into the ocean until the pressure should crush them. This one is my favorite, Daejung said, opening a video of something called a hot pepper challenge. Humans eating peppers so spicy their faces turned red. They sweated. They cried. They looked like they were dying. And they laughed. They are poisoning themselves, Crix observed. For entertainment. Capsaicin is not technically a poison, Daejung said. It just tricks your pain receptors into thinking you're burning. It doesn't actually damage you. Most of the time? Most of the time? Felthar repeated. Well, some peppers are dangerous, Daejung admitted. But people eat them anyway. There's a whole rating scale. The Scoville scale. People compete to eat the hottest peppers. He showed them videos of pepper eating contests. Grown humans voluntarily eating things that caused them obvious agony. Some threw up. Some couldn't speak. All of them looked like they regretted their choices, and then they did it again next year. I do not understand your species, Nala said faintly. Join the club. Daejung laughed. Humans barely understand humans. He stood up and stretched. Listen, if you really want to understand human pain tolerance, you should look into our cultural practices. Different human cultures have different traditions, but a lot of them involve intentional pain as part of growing up or religious practice. He pulled up a quick search. Scarification. Tattoos like you saw. Piercings. Some cultures do sun dances where they pierce their chest and hang from ropes. Others do walkabouts in the desert. Vision quests where you don't eat or drink for days. This is normal? Crix asked. Define normal, Daejung said. It's not like everyone does it. But it's common enough. Humans have always had a complicated relationship with pain. We know it hurts. We just don't let that stop us, he finished his coffee. Anyway, I need to get back to my physics homework. Good luck with your research. After he left, the three aliens sat in silence. Finally, Velthar spoke. We need to reorganize our entire thesis. Agreed, Crix buzzed. But I do not know where to start. Every piece of data contradicts our original conclusions. Nala floated to the center of the room. Perhaps we have been asking the wrong question. We asked if humans feel pain. The answer is clearly yes. We asked if humans avoid pain. The answer is clearly no. So what is the right question? Why, Velthar said slowly. Why do humans choose to experience pain when they have the technology and resources to avoid it? And what determines which pains they accept and which they avoid? Crix added. They looked at each other. We need more direct observation, Nala said. Daejung mentioned cultural practices. We should attend human cultural events. Watch how they interact with discomfort in real situations. Agreed, Velthar chimed. And we should interview more humans. Not about their pain-avoiding technology. About times they chose to experience pain. About why they made those choices. Crix nodded. Our presentation is due for revision in 2 weeks. We have time to conduct proper field research. They began organizing their data into new categories. Not pain avoidance, but pain acceptance. Not sensitivity to discomfort, but choosing meaningful suffering. As the station's artificial sun began to rise, simulating morning, the three researchers finally understood the scope of their mistake. They had not been wrong about humans feeling pain. They had been wrong about what humans did with that pain. The question was not whether humans hurt. The question was what they chose to do about it, and the answer to that question was turning out to be far more complicated and far more interesting than they ever imagined. The station-wide emergency drill was scheduled for Thursday at 1400 hours. Every student and staff member had received notifications for weeks. The drills happened quarterly, testing the station's response to various disasters. Hull breaches, fire, power failure, everyone knew the routine. Velthar, Crix, and Nala had spent the week conducting their revised research. They attended a human martial arts class and watched students voluntarily get hit by each other. They interviewed a human mountain climber, who showed them pictures of frostbitten fingers from her last expedition. They observed a human student pull an all-nighter studying for exams, functioning on no sleep and multiple cups of coffee. Their understanding of humans was evolving, but they still had questions. The emergency drill seemed like a good opportunity to observe human behavior under stress. They positioned themselves in the main gymnasium, where several classes were meeting. About 50 students of various species were present, including a dozen humans. At the front of the gym, a human woman named Minji was teaching a basic fitness class. She was shorter than most humans, but muscular in a way that suggested serious strength training. Her black hair was pulled back in a tight bun. She wore the standard instructor uniform with badges indicating military service in her past. All right, everyone, Minji called out. We have an emergency drill in 10 minutes. We will pause the class when the alarm sounds. Follow standard evacuation procedures. Stay calm. This is just a drill. The students nodded and continued their exercises. Velthar and his research partners took notes. Human responses to anticipated stress seemed casual. No visible anxiety. No preparation beyond acknowledging the upcoming drill. At exactly 1400 hours, the alarm sounded. Loud sirens. Flashing lights. A calm automated voice announced, "Emergency drill in progress. All personnel proceed to designated safe zones." "This is a drill." Minji stopped the class. "Okay, everyone line up by the exit." Nice and orderly. No rush. The students began moving toward the doors. Some laughed and chatted. Others checked their data pads. The mood was relaxed. That was when the sound came. A deep groan of metal under stress. Not from the speakers. From the structure itself. Minji's head snapped up. Her casual expression vanished, replaced by instant alertness. "Everyone stop," the students froze. Minji looked up at the ceiling, her eyes tracking something the others could not see yet. Then they all saw it. One of the support beams crossing the gymnasium ceiling was cracking. The drill simulated damage to the station, using projected images and sound effects. But this beam was actually breaking. A hairline fracture was spreading along its length, visible even from the ground. The beam was directly above a small group of students. 3 freshman aliens who had clustered together near the climbing wall. They stood paralyzed, looking up at the beam that was about to fall on them. "Move!" Minji shouted at them. They did not move. Fear locked them in place. The beam groaned again. The crack spread wider. Minji ran. She crossed the gymnasium floor in seconds. The other students scrambled away from the center of the room, but the 3 freshmen still had not moved. The beam began to fall. 20 feet of solid metal weighing several hundred pounds, dropping straight down toward 3 students who could not make themselves move. Minji reached them. She did not try to pull them away. There was no time. Instead, she looked up at the falling beam, set her feet, and raised her arms. The beam hit her shoulders. Every sensor in the gymnasium screamed. Medical alerts from Minji's wristband, structural alerts from the building systems, emergency alerts to the medical bay. But Minji did not fall. Her legs buckled. Her knees bent. She dropped into a crouch under the weight. Her face twisted in agony, but she held the beam. "Run," she said through clenched teeth. The word came out as barely a whisper. Then louder, "Run!" The 3 freshmen finally moved. They scrambled out from under the beam and ran toward the exit. Other students pulled them to safety. The entire incident took perhaps 5 seconds. It felt like an hour. Emergency response teams arrived through multiple doors. They had been nearby for the drill, but even prepared, they needed time to deploy their equipment. Robotic lifters rolled across the floor. Magnetic clamps engaged on the beam. "We have it," a rescue technician called out. "On 3, 1, 2, 3. 4 robotic lifters strained together. Slowly, they raised the beam off Minji's shoulders. She collapsed the instant the weight was gone. Medical personnel surrounded her immediately. They loaded her onto an anti-gravity stretcher. One medic, a being with 6 arms, was already scanning her with multiple devices at once. "Spinal damage," the medic announced. "Fractures at T7 and T9, severe muscle trauma. Ruptured disc. She needs surgery now." They rushed her out of the gymnasium. The other students stood in shocked silence. The 3 freshmen who had been saved were crying. Several other students looked like they might be sick. Velthar, Crix, and Nala stood together, not moving. Their sensors had recorded everything. Minji's vital signs during the incident. The pain readings had been catastrophic. Off their measurement scale. "She felt all of that," Velthar said quietly. "The sensors do not lie. Her pain receptors were completely overwhelmed. And she held it anyway," Crix finished. They followed the crowd to the medical bay. Word had spread quickly through the station. Students and faculty gathered in the waiting area. The 3 rescued freshmen sat together, still shaking. Hyunwoo arrived, running from his dormitory. "I heard about Minji. Is she okay?" "In surgery," someone told him. "They're stabilizing her spine." The wait felt endless. Finally, after 2 hours, the 6-armed Hextarian doctor emerged. "She will survive," the doctor announced. 2 fractured vertebrae. Significant soft tissue damage. She will need several weeks of recovery and physical therapy, but she will fully recover. Relief washed through the crowd. Students hugged each other. The 3 freshmen sobbed with relief and guilt. "Can we see her?" Hyunwoo asked. "She is waking from anesthesia now," the doctor said. "A few visitors at a time. Immediate friends and family first." Hyunwoo was allowed in. Velthar, Crix, and Nala waited outside, but they could see through the transparent walls of the medical bay. Minji lay in a medical bed, her spine immobilized in a support frame. Monitors surrounded her. Despite the medication, her face still showed pain. She looked tired and pale, but when Hyunwoo entered, she smiled. They talked quietly. The 3 researchers could not hear the words, but they could see Minji's expression. She asked something. Hyunwoo nodded. She relaxed visibly. After Hyunwoo left, the doctor allowed a few more visitors. The 3 freshmen who had been saved entered nervously. One was crying again. They approached Minji's bed like they were approaching something sacred. Minji spoke to them. Short sentences, her voice clearly strained with pain. But whatever she said made the freshmen relax slightly. One of them reached out hesitantly and touched her hand. Minji squeezed back. When they left, Velthar approached the doctor. May we ask what she said to those students? The doctor checked a recording. She asked if they were hurt. When they said no, she said, good, that is all that matters. That is all? Crix's antennae twitched. She fractured her spine. She will be in pain for weeks. And she said that does not matter? The doctor, who had worked with many species over many years, studied the three researchers. You are the student studying human pain response, yes? Yes, Nala confirmed. Then you should understand something, the doctor said. I have treated humans for 15 years. Their pain tolerance is not about their ability to endure suffering. It is about their ability to decide what is more important than their own suffering. The doctor gestured toward Minji's room. She could have let that beam fall. She could have saved herself and let those students take the impact. It would have been logical. Self-preservation is the first rule of biological life. But she did not, Velthar said. No, the doctor agreed. She decided 3 young lives were worth more than her own comfort, worth more than her own safety. So she chose to hurt instead of letting them hurt. The doctor moved away to check other patients. The 3 researchers stood in the corridor processing this information. Hours later, Minji woke fully from the anesthesia. The doctor allowed her to have more visitors. Velthar, Crix, and Nala asked permission to speak with her. She agreed. They entered her room carefully. Medical equipment beeped around them. Minji looked even more exhausted now, the pain medication making her drowsy. We do not wish to disturb your recovery, Velthar said. But we have a question, if you do not mind? Go ahead, Minji said. Her voice was rough but clear. The pain readings during the incident, Crix said. They were extreme. You felt everything, yet you held the beam until those students were safe. Why? Minji was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her words were simple. They were kids. They were scared. Someone had to help them. She shifted slightly in the bed and winced. It hurt, it really hurt. But if I had not helped, they would have been crushed. My pain will heal. They would not have healed. So you traded your pain for their safety, Nala said slowly. I guess so, Minji said, though I did not think about it like that at the time. I just saw them in danger and reacted. But you knew it would hurt you, Velthar insisted. You knew you would be injured? Yeah, Minji agreed. But that was okay. The observation lounge on Deck 12 was quiet at night. The large windows showed space in all its infinite darkness, stars scattered like diamonds on black velvet. A few students liked to come here to think, to study, or just to sit with the universe. Velthar, Crix, and Nala had claimed a corner booth. Their revised thesis was due in 2 days. They had spent 3 weeks researching, observing, and interviewing. They had pages and pages of data, videos, testimonials, scientific measurements, but they still did not understand. Yunwoo found them there looking frustrated and tired. He carried a tray with hot tea and some snacks from the cafeteria. Thought you might need this, he said, setting the tray down. You have been working hard. Thank you, Velthar said. His crystal structure looked dim. But I fear our work is still incomplete. Want to talk about it? Hyunwoo settled into a seat across from them. Sometimes explaining your problem to someone else helps you figure it out. The 3 researchers looked at each other. Then Nala spoke, her light patterns forming slow, careful words. We have observed so much. The tattoo parlor, the athletic training, the emergency with Minji. We have documented human pain tolerance, but we still do not understand the pattern. When do humans accept pain? When do they avoid it? There must be a rule, a logic we are missing. And our deadline is coming, Crix added. We must present something coherent. But every time we think we understand, we find a contradiction. Hyunwoo sipped his tea, thinking. Can I see your data? Maybe fresh eyes will help. They projected their research into the air. Holographic displays surrounded the booth. Images and videos and charts. Hyunwoo studied them quietly. After several minutes, he started to laugh. Softly at first, then harder. I am sorry, Velthar said stiffly. I know our work is inadequate. No, no, Hyunwoo waved his hand. Your work is amazing, really thorough. You have more data on human pain response than most humans ever think about. It is just, you're looking at it backwards again. Backwards? Nala pulsed with confusion. How? Hyunwoo pointed to the data on human medical technology. You said we invented painkillers and anesthesia to avoid pain, but look at what we use them for. Surgery, medicine, healing. We use them so we can fix problems without the pain stopping us from doing what needs to be done. He pointed to another data set. You documented human athletes training through injuries, but look closer at the interviews. They are not celebrating the pain. They are accepting it because their sport matters to them more than being comfortable. He gestured to the video of Minji's rescue. She did not want to get hurt, but she wanted those students to live even more than she wanted to avoid injury. The three aliens stared at him. You keep looking for a rule about pain, Hyunwoo continued. But pain is not the main thing. Pain is just information. It tells us something is wrong, but we get to decide what we do with that information. He pointed to his ribs where the phoenix tattoo was still healing. This hurt. My body told me I was being injured, but I knew the injury was controlled, temporary, and the meaning of having this memorial to my grandmother was more important to me than the temporary discomfort. Velthar's crystal structure began to glow brighter. Something was clicking into place. So human pain avoidance technology, he said slowly, exists, so we only hurt when we choose to, Hyunwoo finished. Imagine if I had a constant toothache, or an old injury that always ached. That would make me tired, distracted, less able to help others when they needed me. But if I can fix the tooth, heal the injury, then when I do choose to experience pain for something meaningful, I am making that choice from a position of strength. It is about agency, Crick said suddenly. His antennae stood straight up. Not pain tolerance, not pain avoidance. Agency, the ability to choose. Exactly, Hyunwoo said, smiling. Humans hate being in pain when we have no choice about it. An injury we did not want. A sickness that strikes randomly. That kind of suffering feels meaningless, and we fight against it with everything we have. But suffering we choose. Nala's lights began to pulse faster, excited. Is different. Hyunwoo agreed. It is still suffering. It still hurts. But it means something. And that meaning changes everything. Velthar pulled up more data, looking at it with new understanding. The marathon runners. They choose to run. The pain has meaning because they decided it was worth it. The mothers going through childbirth, Crix added, his voice buzzing with excitement. They choose to have children. The pain is terrible, but the choice gives it purpose. Minji under that beam, Nala said softly. She chose to protect those students. The pain was not meaningless, it had the highest meaning possible. They sat in silence for a moment, the realization settling over them. But I still have a question, Velthar said. What about your safety protocols? Your warning labels? Your protective equipment? You do try to avoid pain. Of course we do, Hyunwoo said. When pain is meaningless, when it accomplishes nothing. If I can wear a seatbelt and avoid getting hurt in an accident, why would I not wear it? The pain of a car crash does not teach me anything. It does not achieve a goal. It is just random damage. He leaned forward. Humans are not masochists. We do not seek pain for its own sake. We just refuse to let pain make our decisions for us. If something is worth doing, we do it, even if it hurts. But if pain can be avoided, without giving up something we value, we avoid it gladly. So the question is not, do humans feel pain? Crick said. Or do humans avoid pain? Nala added. But what do humans value more than their own comfort? Velthar finished. Now you are getting it, Hyunwoo said warmly. The three researchers began typing rapidly, reorganizing their entire thesis. Their understanding had shifted completely. Not pain tolerance, not pain avoidance, but the human ability to choose what mattered more than pain. There is one more thing, Hyunwoo said quietly. something I think is important for your thesis." They looked at him. "This is not just about individual humans," he said. "It is about human civilization, about how we got to the stars." He gestured out the window at the vast space station, at the ships coming and going, at the dozens of species living together in peace. "Getting here was hard," Hyunwoo said. "Incredibly hard. There were wars, famines, plagues, environmental disasters. We almost destroyed ourselves a dozen times. Every generation of humans faced a choice: give up and stay comfortable, or push forward through the pain. And you pushed forward," Belthar said. "Enough of us did," Hyunwoo corrected. "Not all of us. Some people chose comfort. That is fine. That is their right. But enough humans, in every generation, chose to sacrifice for something bigger, to suffer for progress, to hurt themselves so their children would not have to hurt." He looked at each of them in turn. "Your thesis is about human pain response, but really, it is about human civilization. About how a species decides to build something that lasts, and the answer is simple, even if it is not easy. We chose to hurt. We chose to suffer. We chose to die, but not pointlessly. Always for something we believed was worth it." The lounge was very quiet. In the distance, a ship launched, its engines glowing as it left the station. "Professor Krelix," Velthar said suddenly. He knew we would get it wrong the first time." "Probably," Hyunwoo agreed. "He has been teaching for a long time. I bet he has seen a lot of students make the same mistake, looking at human technology and thinking we are weak, thinking we avoid challenges. But the technology is not weakness," Crick said. "It is the opposite. It is us being strong enough to choose our battles." "Exactly," Hyunwoo said. They worked through the night, rewriting their thesis completely. The new version was shorter but much more accurate. 2 days later, they stood before the class again. The same lecture hall, the same professor, the same audience. But their presentation was completely different. "Our original thesis was incorrect," Velthar began. "We apologize for spreading misinformation. Today we present our revised understanding." The screen behind them showed a simple title: Human Pain Response, the species that treats suffering as a choice, not a command. They presented their findings: the tattoo parlor, the athletic training, Minji's rescue, but now they explained these events differently. "Humans feel pain as acutely as any species," Crix explained. "Perhaps more acutely, given their nervous system sensitivity. But they have developed the unique ability to consciously override pain responses. Human civilization is built not on avoiding pain," Nala continued, "but on choosing which pains are meaningful. Their medical technology exists not to make them comfortable, but to give them the strength to choose harder challenges. The human relationship with suffering is about agency," Velthar concluded. "They refuse to let pain control their choices. When something matters enough, they will suffer for it. Willingly, consciously, because they have decided the goal is worth the cost." The class was silent. Students took notes frantically. Finally, Professor Krelix stood. He walked to the front of the room, and he removed his hood. The entire class gasped. Professor Krelix was human. He had been human all along, hidden behind holographic projections and flowing robes. "You are correct," he said simply. His face was lined with age, his hair gray. He looked kind but tired. Very tired. "I am Professor Hansol. I have taught at this academy for 15 years, and in that time,